Most people think getting rich is about luck or being born into money, but I disagree, and so does Naval, a self-made millionaire and tech entrepreneur who says, if I lost all my money and you dropped me on a random street in any English-speaking country, within 5 to 10 years, I'd be wealthy again, because it's a skill set I've developed and I think anyone can develop. The truth is that getting rich is actually about becoming the kind of person that makes money. In 1,000 parallel universes, you want to be wealthy in 999 of them. You don't want to be wealthy in the 50 of them where you got lucky. We want to factor luck out of it. That's why in this video, I'm breaking down the 6 most powerful lessons from the book, The Almanac of Naval that anyone can follow to achieve financial freedom. These exact ideas are why I'm on track to becoming a millionaire in my 20s, and they'll completely change how you think about building wealth. The first key lesson is to seek wealth, not money or status. Wealth is having assets that earn while you sleep. Money is how you transfer time and wealth, and status is your place in the social hierarchy. There's a significant difference between money and wealth that most people unfortunately never understand. Money is what's in your bank account, and it's what you get in exchange for offering your time and value to your employer. But if you stop working tomorrow, it stops coming in, which is a problem obviously, because if you don't find a way to make money while you sleep, you will work until you die, which is kind of depressing honestly, and we don't want that for ourselves. Wealth is a thing that you actually want, and it's owning equity in businesses through stocks that grow and pay dividends while you sleep. It's the real estate that pays you every single month while you're on vacation. It's the ownership of things that aren't tied to your time and produce value whether you work or not. You have to get to a place where you own equity so you don't rent out your time forever. Take David Cho, who was a graffiti artist that was hired to paint murals at Facebook's first headquarters in 2005. They allegedly offered him $60,000 in cash or company stock. And David ended up taking the stock, which gave him some equity in the company. And when Facebook went public, those shares were said to be worth around $200 million, which is crazy because chances are that other employees may have taken a comfortable high salary instead, but David took a risk in accepting ownership and became wealthy in the process. A graffiti artist made more from one decision than most CEOs make in a lifetime, not because he's smarter or he worked harder, but because he chose owning equity over trading time for money. And you can build wealth as well using the income from your job to invest into appreciating assets like stocks, real estate or cryptocurrencies, your own business, or even your education and skills, so that you can make more income to invest even more into appreciating assets. Wealth buys you freedom. It means you don't have to wake up at 7 a.m. and sit in soul-crushing traffic. You don't have to waste your life grinding away your productive hours at a soulless job that doesn't fulfill you. The purpose of wealth is to be your own sovereign individual, to wake up when you want and work on what you want with who you want. But most people are playing the wrong game entirely. They're either chasing money by trading in their limited time by the hour, which they'll never get back, or worse, they're playing the status game of trying to look rich instead of becoming wealthy, through buying things that they don't need to impress people that they don't like. The status game is an ancient monkey game that we might have needed when we were in tribes back in the day, but in today's day and age, it's a trap that keeps you poor. And fortunately for all of us, Naval says that everyone can be wealthy, successful, and retire comfortably one day. It's merely a question of education and desire. You have to want it. If you don't want it, that's fine. Then you opt out of the game. Obviously, this doesn't include those in extremely underprivileged circumstances, so it's important to be mindful of that. But in today's day, a poor person in America lives better and longer than kings did 200 years ago. We have antibiotics, internet, and smartphones. Technology has made it more accessible for everyone to create some type of wealth. The truth is that you have a limited amount of productive years in your life, 40 years for most. You can either spend them trading time for money, or you can spend them building assets that grant you freedom. Now, the second lesson builds on the previous one, because in order to get unconventional outcomes in wealth, you need to understand and master the 4 types of leverage. There's a famous quote that says, "Give me a lever long enough and a place to stand, and I will move the earth." The wealthiest people use certain principles of leverage to get better results than others with less time and effort. There are literally Twitch streamers and TikTok stars nowadays who make millions of dollars a year, which is way more than what most doctors and surgeons make even after going to school for over a decade. And it's not because these content creators work harder, it's because they are reaping the benefits of leverage. The first and oldest form of leverage is labor, where you hire people to work for you and perform tasks. This can be very powerful because if you own a business and you're doing everything yourself, your output is limited by the hours in your day and your individual energy levels. A restaurant owner who tries to be the chef, waiter, and cashier themselves can maybe serve like 20 customers a night. But if you hire a professional chef, experienced waiters, and a trained manager, now you're serving 200 customers with better food and service than you could ever deliver alone. Also, you can hire specialists who are better than you at specific things. So maybe you're great at sales but terrible at accounting. So hiring people with specialized skills lets you focus on what you do best. This form of leverage is obviously great, but when you hire people, you have to manage them. And this can be complicated and expensive, especially as your team scales. The second type of leverage is capital leverage, where you use money to make more money. This is incredibly powerful if you already have capital. For example, if you have $10 million and earn just 10% in the stock market, which is the historical average, you're making $1 million a year doing absolutely nothing. That's more than what most people make their entire careers. But the problem is getting the initial $10 million in the first place, because most of us aren't born with it. And this is exactly why rich families stay rich. They pass down capital that keeps compounding generation after generation, and their kids start their life with capital leverage while everyone else has to save their first $1,000 themselves. Capital leverage is incredible for growing wealth, but terrible for creating it from zero. But here's where everything changed. The internet created two new forms of leverage that cost nothing and require no one's permission. The third form of leverage is code leverage, which is something I had in mind when I decided to become a software engineer. When you write code, you're not just writing instructions, you're creating an army of digital workers that never sleep. You write it once and it runs millions of times over. And while you're sleeping at 3 a.m., that same code you wrote months ago is executing thousands of times and solving problems. It works 24/7, never calls in sick, and can serve millions of users without you writing another line. Instagram literally had 13 employees when Facebook bought them for around $1 billion. Traditional companies might have needed thousands of employees to serve the same number of customers. Imagine trying to serve millions or even a billion people with 13 humans before software existed. It would be damn near impossible. But this company built software that scaled infinitely. And the fourth form of leverage is media leverage. Before the internet, if you wanted to reach 1 million people, you needed a TV network, a record label, or a publisher to pick you. Now with the internet and today's technology, you can create content once and reach millions of people forever using just your phone. And you don't need anyone's permission because there aren't any gatekeepers anymore. Mr. Beast doesn't perform his video for each of his 400 million subscribers. He films it once, uploads it, and earns millions of dollars while he sleeps. And his old videos from 3 years ago are still making him money right now, this very second. This is why teenagers and streamers are becoming millionaires in their bedrooms. They're not working harder than you, they're just using media leverage. One piece of content has infinite replay value with zero additional effort. And if you can somehow combine all these forms of leverage, there's no doubt that you'll be rich. You just need to understand which type of leverage to apply to your unique abilities and scale accordingly. For the third lesson, Naval says learn to sell and learn to build. If you can do both, you will be unstoppable. Building is creating something valuable. It can be writing software, designing products, creating content, or making physical goods. It's the ability to take an idea and bring it to reality. Selling, on the other hand, is the ability to communicate that value to other people. It's about helping people understand why what you built matters, and it's getting your creation and products seen and distributed to the people it was made for. Ideally, you want to have both of these skills because you can build the greatest product in the world, but if nobody knows it exists, someone with the worst product and better marketing will beat you. Or you can be the world's best seller and marketer, but if you have nothing valuable to offer, you're probably selling someone else's product and making them rich. But if you can do both, you'll have a hard time not making money. You don't even need to be the best at both. Being good at one and decent at the other puts you ahead of most people. Elon Musk isn't just an engineer, he might be the greatest salesman alive. He sold the world on electric cars, and he sells the dream of Mars every other day on Twitter, and now he's the richest man on earth. And so here's what this means for you. If you're naturally a builder, start learning to sell, learn copywriting and study psychology, understand what makes people want to buy. Because the best product doesn't always win, the product that reaches the most people wins. Just look at the music industry. There's plenty of talented artists nowadays that never blow up because they don't know how to market themselves. And if you're naturally a seller, start learning to build, learn to code, write, design, or create content. Try building something tangible that you own. Because without a product, you're just helping somebody else get rich. Every successful business is basically just selling and building on repeat. You build something people want, you tell them about it, then you improve your product based off feedback, and then you tell more people. So if you can learn to do both well, it's almost impossible not to be wealthy. The next lesson is to follow your genuine curiosities. This rule might be considered counterintuitive to many, but it's the exact reason why most successful people make their success look so effortless. A lot of people might say that following your passion won't ever make you rich because it's not practical, and they might be right in a lot of cases, but when you're genuinely curious about something, you have an unfair advantage over anyone who's just chasing money. Think about the things that feel like play to you and that you naturally gravitate towards. Let's take Software engineering, for example. If you hate coding, how could you possibly compete with somebody who can code for 12 hours every day and it doesn't feel like work to them, while you're forcing yourself through 2 hours of work before burning out? The software engineer who loves to code will accumulate way more hours of practice over the long run compared to the person who's just doing it for money. If you're passionate about your career or business, you'll work on it when it's not profitable, and you'll persist in the early days even if it's not popular. You'll go deeper and build more skills, and eventually you become the expert while everyone else is jumping to the next shiny object. This is important for wealth creation because most people just chase whatever they think makes them the most money, and they never put in the time, volume, and effort necessary to build the skills and leverage that compound into extraordinary results in the long run. They switch business models and careers every month and quit fast because they have no genuine interest. One day it's crypto because someone made millions off trading meme coins, and they try drop shipping the next month and Twitch streaming after that. But when you follow your genuine curiosity, you're not competing with millions of people chasing the same trend. You're creating a category of one, and you escape competition through authenticity. Nobody can compete with you at being you. Think about Joe Rogan, for example. He's not trying to be Oprah or anyone else, but he's built the most popular podcast in the world by being himself and talking about everything from aliens to MMA to comedy. Nobody can compete with Joe Rogan at being Joe Rogan. And once you find that thing you're genuinely curious about, learn everything that you can, read every book, practice every day, study the masters, and experiment constantly. Because the person who loves what they do will almost always outperform the person who's just in it for money, not because of passion, but because curiosity creates obsession, obsession creates mastery, and mastery creates wealth. The next lesson is so simple that most people dismiss it, but it's literally the dividing line between those who become wealthy and those who end up average. You have to create more than you consume. Naval says that society will pay you for creating what it wants, but doesn't yet know how to get at scale. And the way you build lasting wealth is to provide as much value to the people and the marketplace as you can through creating valuable products, building businesses, or offering valuable skills that solve their problems. Literally every single dollar you've ever made came from creating value for someone else. For example, you get paid a salary in exchange for the value you create and the skills you offer your employer. The people who end up wealthy figure out what people want, they create it, and then they figure out how to get it to everyone who wants it. And better yet, they create something valuable once that can potentially provide value millions of times over. Steve Jobs figured out society wanted smartphones before we even knew we wanted them, created the design and the vision behind the iPhone, and now billions of people have one in their pocket. But most people unfortunately have this completely backwards. They spend 99% of their time consuming and 5% creating, if that. And we've all been there scrolling on social media for hours, watching TV shows or reading about building a business but never actually starting one. That's why you need to flip the switch from being a consumer to a creator by making things you're interested in that can help people. And the beautiful part is that the internet gives you the opportunity to do this so easily because it connects every human to every other human on the planet. You can reach anyone, anywhere with anything you create. You can make a video, write a blog post, or build an app once that can be seen and used by millions of people. Mr. Beast literally creates one video that 100 million people watch, and the value of that one piece of content can scale infinitely throughout the internet. Think of every piece of content that you post as an asset that can work for you forever, because at the end of your life, nobody's going to care what you consumed. They're going to care about what you created. And coincidentally, that's also how the market decides what to pay you. So start creating and make as much cool stuff as you possibly can. The last lesson is why most people never build real wealth, and is probably the hardest one to follow in our instant gratification world. You need to play long-term games with long-term people. All the greatest returns in life come from compound interest, not just in money, but in relationships, reputation, and knowledge. Warren Buffett made 99% of his net worth after his 50th birthday and ended up becoming a billionaire at 56 years old. Building such significant wealth, even in the millions, takes years and often decades of consistency and discipline before the compound effect works its magic. Working with talented people that you trust is also very important. Naval says something along the lines of, if you want to be successful, you have to work with other people, and you have to figure out who you can trust over a long period of time so that you can just keep playing the game with them. And so that compound interest and high trust will make it easier to play the game and will let you collect the major rewards, which are usually at the end of the cycle. It's obviously ideal to invest in relationships and do business with people that you've known for years because of the trust that you've built with them. But if you keep switching industries, locations, and groups, it's harder to build lasting relationships. Most people jump from thing to thing every month and are so busy trying to get rich that they never get rich at all. That's why it's so important to think about subscribing to games that you can play for the long term. So ask yourself, what are you doing today that you could still be doing in 10 years? And who could you be working with today that you could still be working with in 10 years? Because that's where the real wealth is hidden, not in the quick flip and not in the overnight success, but in the patient compound interest of doing the right thing with the right people for a very long time. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to subscribe to the channel for more videos on achieving financial freedom. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.